What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye, Burn is just wearing a ridiculous hat, but he's all up in his hometown, so I'm sure he's freezing his ass off up there. I don't know.
No, this is my D&D hat. This stays on every time we have to run a skill check or roll a D20. All right, this adds +5 to any rolls that I do.
I don't think that's how it works, but you know what? Whatever floats your boat. And exactly what Burn means, if you don't know what any of that stuff is, we are talking the new Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie that just dropped this last weekend. It's still out in theaters, available IMAX, all that good stuff. So if you guys haven't go seen it already, I would say definitely one for the theaters. But before we get into our non-spoiler review, do not forget to give us a like, ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Want to keep the community growing, so we could all just rant in peace and harmony and roll 20s of D's. I don't know that. I only played D&D once, so I can't. Don't ask me these questions on what it all means. But let's get started, shall we? So this movie stars the likes of Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Hugh Grant, and a handful of other actors that have been a couple of up-and-coming ones. Like there's the girl from It. I forget her name.
Sophia Lillis.
Thank you. And then the guy from Pokemon Detective Pikachu. And he's in the HBO show. I forgot what that one is, but...
Justice Smith.
It was Justice Smith.
I mainly know him from Detective Pikachu, though.
I mean, he's in a handful of other stuff. He's also in the Jurassic World movies, like Dominion and Fallen Kingdom. What else? And then I forgot the other...
Regé-Jean Page.
Yeah, okay, Sean. Yes, exactly.
Jean. Okay, Sean.
And essentially, this is just a great take on one of the most popular games of all time, in which, a group of thieves have to come together to try and steal an important... they just have to steal something, and it's going to be it's a whole adventure really behind it. I can't spoil it too much because the trailers actually did a pretty good job of not really giving away the whole plot, so I like that aspect of it. And Burn, before I say my thoughts, what did you think of the movie? Because you got a chance to see it as well.
Yeah, so I mean, initially I was a little bit apprehensive because we have had Dungeons and Dragons adaptation before. It came out like in the early 2000s with Jeremy Irons, and needless to say, that
did not do well.
It's a horrible movie. So when I heard they were making a new one, it's like, okay, and like obviously it has the opportunity to be good because Dungeons and Dragons is just like, a very like open-ended world where like basically everyone can create their own stories. So there's a lot of room to play with, and it just depends on who involved is the one that's going to be making it. And finding out that John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein were directing this movie, that gave me a little bit of faith because these are the guys who made the movie Game Night, which came out a few years ago, and that I think is one of the best comedies we've gotten in a while. Very creative and a lot of fun. So that, along with the cast involved, it's like, okay, this could actually probably be good. And I gotta say, for me, I think it was. It's like this movie was a ton of fun, and it captured that spirit that you kind of have when you're in a D&D session. I know you said you've only played once, and I've played like a handful of times with my brother and some cousins and stuff. And at the end of the day, those games are just fun. Like it's you and your buddies doing ridiculous things, going on fun and ridiculous adventures, and the movie, I think, captured that really well. I thought it was very creative in terms of its action and its staging. There's a lot of set pieces in this movie that compared to a lot of other like action movies nowadays, this one had a lot of fun with it. Like this one was very creative in the use of the camera work and the use of like the staging, the way like they choreographed all the action sequences and the set pieces and stuff. It was very fun. So at the end of the day, this was just like a very enjoyable fantasy movie, and it feels like we haven't had fantasy that didn't take itself too seriously in a while. Like we've gotten a lot of things with like the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. The other obvious, big fantasy product that we've gotten was like Game of Thrones and that super serious stuff. So it's fun to sort of get like a fantasy story that, it has a lot of levity and some fun in it. It feels like a little bit refreshing and something we haven't gotten in at least a little while.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of would, I guess if I had to compare it to movies, I would say it's a mix of like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Narnia all rolled into one. So it's got a bit of every aspect of it, like the magic, the monsters, the sword, the old like sword and the sword play essentially. Um, I enjoyed it. It kept me awake the whole time, which was nice. I thought I had some good comedic moments. I really liked the cast, especially Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez. I thought they vibed very well. It was just nice seeing Michelle Rodriguez outside of Fast and Furious and God knows how long. Because I think the only other thing I could really think of that she was in, like, she was briefly in Alita Battle Angel. I don't think she got credited for that, even though I swear it was her. She was in Avatar, the first one. She wasn't in the second one. And that's essentially it. I haven't really seen her anything else, so that was nice to see. The rest of the cast was great. I think my favorite aspect of this movie was the creature design. A lot of great makeup and effects that went into the monsters and some of the creatures, especially the owl bear, which was what was her name one more time? Sophia Lillis?
Yeah, Sophia Lillis.
Yeah, her character was great, especially from the trailer where she turns into the owlbear. I thought that was awesome, and you just get to see a whole array of other animal and like monster characters. That was great. So yeah, and then Chris Pine again. I don't know if this will be a franchise necessarily. The way this went, it's kind of up in the air if they want to do a sequel. I think I'd be open to it, especially with this team involved. Having said all that, I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5 just because I thought it was very well done. Had some great moments, some great cameos as well. And yeah, it's just a great fantasy story. So even if you don't know the game, like I definitely don't, I think everyone could get a kick out of it and you kind of get a good amount of explanation for it. You're just kind of thrown into it and that's kind of the fun with it. So what would you rate this Burn out of Rantings?
I mean, I would also give it a 4 out of 5. Like you mentioned, the cast here is really solid, and the characters are all interesting too. So, yeah, as you said, if they wanted to sort of do a sequel, a direct sequel to this movie with all the same people involved, I would be down for that. Or, it being a D&D thing, they could definitely make an anthology thing where every movie we're following, a different group of characters and different adventures and stuff. I mean, the world is so wide open that they can do basically whatever they wanted with it. But as long as it's to this quality, I think, we would have nothing to worry about if they wanted to turn it into a franchise, because this movie was a lot of fun. Like you said, the effects were cool, both practical and visual effects were really fun, and the characters were good, and it felt like the actors really had a good time in the role too. So yeah, overall, this was a very fun and creative movie, and yeah, one that I think that people who like Dungeons and Dragons can enjoy, and for people who aren't familiar with it, it's just a really fun fantasy story that it's a fun adventure movie that they can just get into. So this one I think anyone can come into and find any enjoyment in.
Yes. So for those of you who have been looking forward to this, I definitely recommend IMAX just because you get the most screen out of your buck essentially like that. If you're kind of on the fence, I would say $5 Tuesday or just see it regular. I think it's definitely a movie you can enjoy. To be honest, I'm still on the John Wick train, so I'm that. Nothing is beating that for me as of now. I'm sure there's gonna be something that's gonna top it eventually. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad.
But I mean, like, what a good movie to kick off the end of March, right? Like, March was such a solid month, and that was like the last one with the exception of Shazam, getting this movie, Scream, and John Wick in March. It's like, what a good month for movies.
Yeah, Shazam is. I mean, I still like Shazam. I think this is definitely a good.
Yeah, not that was bad.
Yeah,
it was just okay.
Yeah, it was just okay. But yeah, we had like Creed 3, Scream 6, John Wick 4, and Dungeons and Dragons. I'm glad all those movies did really well because those are definitely some I was like, oh, they could go either way. But this upcoming month, we got a lot of good stuff coming. Like this upcoming week, we got the movie Air, which is Nike signing signing up Michael Jordan. We also have Mario Brothers with Chris Pratt and Charlie Day by Illumination. So that'll be interesting to see. And
hopefully that's good.
The biggest one I'm looking forward to this month is Evil Dead Rise. I can't wait to see it because that Red Band trailer got me hyped a few months ago. So I'm excited for that. But we also got some more Mando coming up. That's going to wrap up in a few weeks. So stay tuned for those reviews as well as the upcoming ones for our movies. And until then, guys, stay bodacious and keep on renting for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.